He's back. Dexter Morgan is back, and he's in New York City this time. All right, let's get into these first two episodes.
Welcome to the Asia Esterak Hour, where film meets conspiracy and pop culture gets a reality check. From sharp recaps to sci-fi theories and media deep dives, Asia Esterak serves it unfiltered. Let the binge begin.
All right, welcome back to the Asia Esterak Hour. I'm Asia Esterak, and today I am reviewing Dexter Resurrection on Paramount Plus, brought to us by Showtime, starring the amazing, wonderful Michael C. Hall. All right, so the episode opens with a very in-depth recap with the previous show, which was an extension of the original Dexter series that basically picked up where he left Miami and restarted a whole new life as Jim Lindsay, who worked at this little local shop up north in Iron Lake. I can't remember the state, but I know it's up north. Anyway, they basically do a recap showing his relationship with Harrison, who is his son, who finds him up there. We learned that Harrison, too, has a dark passenger. So Dexter, of course, tries to show him the code that his dad, Harry, showed him. The problem with that is Dexter is a hot-ass mess, and so is Harrison. And it ends up being like a power play between them two. And actually, at one point, Harrison grows to resent Dexter and ends up shooting him. And he tells him, like, if you're, basically, if you about that life, shoot me. So Harrison shoots him at the end of the episode. So in that series, we think he's dead. That was an interesting series. I didn't really like it that much at first, but it grew on me. Clancy Brown was the serial killer. Clancy Brown is amazing. Most kids would know him as Mr. Crab on SpongeBob, but he was amazing on Carnival. He was also Northern Exposure. Anyway, I'm not gonna go into Clancy Brown's career, but anyway, you should watch that. The show ended up being really good, and it really was a setup for all of this too, because of the relationship between Dexter and his son Harrison. If you're not familiar with Dexter, you probably shouldn't be watching the show because you're gonna be lost. But Harrison having the same origin beginning is his dad, being born in blood. Crazy. Anyway, so current show, Dexter Resurrection, opens with him in a hospital bed. We find out he's been in a coma for 10 weeks. And in this coma, he is, of course, having dreams. Very A Christmas Carol, very Scrooge. He's being visited by different ghosts of people that he's killed in the past. So he's first visited by John Lithgow, who played the Trinity Killer, who we all know is the one that killed Rita and basically began Harrison's bloody, fiery, violent beginning. So basically, he gets visited by him, and of course, the Trinity Killer is talking about how, you blame me for all this violence in Harrison, but it was always going to be this way, whether you met me or not, kind of thing. His second ghost is, what's his face? Miguel Prado, played by the amazing Jimmy Smits. It was cool to see everybody come back, too. Everyone's aged well as well. He, meets with Jimmy Smits at this cemetery, which was very foreshadowing and reminiscent of his past, because they talk about being friends, and Jimmy Smits talks about how I like that I could, confide in you, which is crazy, because if you watch that season with Jimmy Smits, Dexter was playing his friend, but he was hunting him the whole damn time. So that's why this is what I love about Dexter, is that you get to see a serial killer's complete perspective and the irony that he's hunting other serial killers. So anyway, in that scene with Miguel Prado, Jimmy Smith's character, we see the graves of Deb Morgan, Rita. It's very obvious that Dexter is going through a transformation, because he's literally he's resurrected. He's coming back to life. He didn't die. He survived the gunshot. So he's seeing kind of ghosts of serial killers past and victims of past, and maybe not direct victims of his, but victims of his decision making, like Rita and Deb. Powerful opening. I really appreciated that. The last person that he's visited by is the amazing Dokes. First of all, I love how they did it. So he's in his hospital bed, and it's like it gets kind of dark and ominous, and there's the hospital sheet pulled around, and you see like this, you hear this heavy footstep, and you see the silhouette of clearly like a tall man, and he opens it and it's Dokes, and he's like, "Surprise, motherfucker." Fucking hilarious. I screamed. It was so great to see Dokes. This was a great scene, by the way. Not just because of their comedic banter with each other, because Derek actually mimics him and calls him he's like, "Yeah, you used to call me a creepy motherfucker." But Dokes reveals, I knew you were the Bay Harbor Butcher. I knew that. But he goes, even when you dig beneath the Bay Harbor Butcher and all that, there is a kernel of good inside of you, Dexter. Or there's a good kernel inside of you, Morgan. I like that because Dexter is good. He's bad, but he's good. I mean, he can't be totally evil. He's taking out the trash. The trash is taking out the trash. Is he trash? That's up for debate. Interesting. This is why I love Dexter. The whole universe and the themes and the plots and the tone of Dexter is because morality is such an interesting subject, and for him to be somebody who is flawed and he's taking out the flawed is quite, it's a fight within itself. It's such an interesting debate. We could talk about it for hours, but anyway, I'm not trying to be here long with y'all. I don't want to have you guys too long. Anyway, so it was great because Dexter, which we later see, this is going to manifest in the second episode, but Dexter needed to hear that. And he's getting vital information from all these different ghosts that are visiting him. They even joke about it being like Scrooge and all that. That's totally what it reminded me of. So anyway, we get to New York. We're seeing Harrison. Harrison works at the Empire Hotel in New York City, up there in Manhattan. And interesting life. When we meet him, he's actually getting ready in a vacant hotel room. He appears to be friends with another girl that works there. He watches her son. I don't see any type of romantic anything with them, at least not in these first two episodes, but purely innocent. And she seems like she's a positive influence. When we first meet him, when they're talking, we learn that he passed his GED exam. So that's kind of dope. This chick is going to school. He definitely has his dark passenger. They allude to that a few times. We also see that here at the hotel, he seems to be the go-to guy. They haven't really clarified what exactly his position is at the hotel. It's giving busboy, or not busboy, child. It's giving, why can't I think of the word? He's like a hotel porter. That is an old school word that I'm using. But he seems to be doing a little bit of everything. And it's giving that he lives at the hotel. I haven't seen him in an actual apartment of his own just yet. But they show him with different guests, and I'm the go-to guy, and I'm the guy that can help you out, blah, blah, blah. So at one point, there's a guy that pulls up in this like nice ass ride, and he breaks his watch, and he's like, "Yeah, man, can you get my watch fixed?" And so his manager, who is this British black dude with the coolest haircut, his hair is gray, and he's got like this part, he got the Frederick Douglass fresh do, but like a modernized version of it. I was here for it. I love a good haircut on a man, and I love a good hairstyle on anybody. But anyway, it's another video. So the reason I'm mentioning this dude and this watch is because that's going to come up later on. So of course, Harrison's like, "Yeah, I know a guy that can fix the watch." Yeah, and the guy's like, "Cool, I got you." Harrison's cool with everybody at the hotel as well. There's a guy in ballet that drives like the cool cars. They're friends. They later hang out. That's in episode 2. But it's painting a picture that Harrison has a village here at this hotel. That's his life. New York City seems to be popping for him. I love New York. It makes me... Watching this made me miss New York. I live... I mean, I have a car. I can drive to New York. Anyway, so we get back to Dexter up there in Iron Lake. We learn from his doctor that the reason he even survived that bullet shot, the bullet piercing through him, because it was through the chest, is because of hypothermia. Because it was so cold, it slowed down his heart rate, which caused him not to bleed out. But his doctor did say, he's like, if this had been warm weather, you would have been dead in minutes. So in probably seconds. So that's interesting. So while he's up there, he learns that his girlfriend, who was the former sheriff, skipped town and cleared up everything. She basically said that she shot Dexter. We all know that's not true. So that's interesting. And she skipped town. We're only on the first 2 episodes. That's all that's been released. But I'm curious about that situation. I know that's going to come up. You know that is. So Dexter's later on, a nurse comes in and tells him that he has a visitor. The visitor shows up. It's freaking Angel Batista that he used to work with at Miami PD. So Angel looks great. He's back. He comes in. Dexter asks him, like, is this real? Are you real or is this a ghost? Because you got to remember, he's been seeing ghosts this whole time. And he's, of course, Harry is still there, his dad. His dad is always going to be there talking to him. And Angel's like, this is real. So they hug. They start catching up. And Angel is there on some other business. That is apparent. So he tells Dexter, he's like, yeah, so he's asking him, he's like, why did you just leave? You know, and what happened to Deb in the surveillance footage from the hospital? And he's referring to the finale of Dexter when he took Deb out on the boat and rode off into the sea. He basically tells Angel that's what he did. And Angel's like, so why did you just disappear and change your name? So Dexter's like, I was traumatized by everything that happened and I just wanted a fresh start. I feel like everything, like trauma was following me and I just wanted to start over. And that's why, and remember he went by the name James or Jim Lindsay. So Angel's like, he goes, well, you remember, he's like, you remember Lieutenant LaGuerta? And he's like, of course. And he goes, well, oh, I'm sorry. I'm skipping shit. So Angel, the only reason he knows that Dexter is alive is the detective or the sheriff at the Iron Lake Sheriff's Department where he's at in the right now up north had called Batista because somehow Batista was listed as somebody to call. They didn't connect the full dots with that. And Shad, I can't remember from that other season. I would have to go back and watch. I'm not doing all that. But anyway, he mentions that his ex-girlfriend says to Sheriff Bishop before she skips town, before she leaves, that she alluded to the fact that Dexter was the Bay Harbor butcher. So of course Dexter's like playing dumb, like I don't know why she would say that. So Angel got this look on his face. He goes, yeah, that is weird that she would say that. He goes, you remember Detective LaGuerta? And he's like, of course, you know, and that was remember they were lovers at one point. She was she was in charge of Dexter when they worked in Miami PD. She later was replaced. She ended up getting killed. Deb is the one that killed her. Remember that? So Angel goes, yeah, LaGuerta told me off the record before she died that she was for certain that you, Dexter Morgan, were the Bay Harbor butcher. Now that's a heck of a coincidence, isn't it, Dexter? And Dexter's like, you know, shitting bricks on the inside, but he's like, yeah, that's weird. Why would you say that? So Angel says to him, and he's like, yeah, it's a coincidence. But he said, I just want to let you know, though, I resurrected you legally. So Dexter Morgan is alive. And Dexter's like, oh, okay, great. You know, thanks. And Angel's like, well, I'm going to go. I'll be back here tomorrow. So Angel leaves, and he says to the hospital attendant, who actually is his Dexter's physical therapist. That girl's dope, Native American actress. I cannot remember her name, but she was on True Detective Night Country. She was fantastic. So it's cool to see her on this too. Anyway, so he goes, what time are visiting hours tomorrow? She's like 11 to, I think she says 11 to 5 or 11 to 4. He was like, I'll see you at 11. I'm sorry. He actually says that to the doctor. So he leaves. So Dexter, of course, is sitting in the hospital like, this is not good. So he says in his voiceover, he resurrected Dexter because you can't prosecute a dead man. So now we know we're off to the races. Of course, Dexter's back and somebody is on that man's trail every show. Here we go. I love that it's Batista, though. I love that it's a former, colleague, work colleague of his. That's what makes this more interesting. And I love the fact that Dexter is a series that has not fallen off. Well, it's had some not great seasons, but I love that they have resurrected this character now 3 times if you count Original Sin. And he's killing it. They're killing it. Killing the game. All right, back to New York. So Harrison. So there's this convention that their hotel is getting ready for, a gala or some type of event. So they've actually cleared off a whole floor, and Harrison knows this because his friend, the girl, I cannot remember this woman's name, but the one that he babysits for and works with at the hotel, she's letting him know. So she must be a concierge or something. They haven't really explained exactly what she does, but she tells him which rooms are vacant that he can stay in, and he babysits for her. They haven't clarified all of this exactly, but I'm getting that the exchange is that she hooks him up and he babysits for her while she goes to school at night. Homegirl seems like she's very smart and a positive character. Please don't let nothing bad happen to her, because I like her already. She's positive for Harrison, because we know he's Dexter's son, so he a hot ass mess. Anyway, so Harrison is at work, and he's helping this one woman who's come in. Cute little blonde girl. They're talking in the elevator. He helps her up to her room. She's telling him that she's visiting from, I think she says Idaho, for some sort of work thing. And she's like, gosh, I love New York. It's so exciting. It must be so great for you to live here. And he's like, it's okay. She's like, I love New York. She goes, out here, you can be anybody. Very ominous. Earlier, I forgot to mention, so when you're learning that Harrison kind of is the man around town when it comes to the hotel and hooking up guests, you could tell he's, anybody that works in a hotel, especially anybody that works in hospitality, tips and customer service get you very far and get you that good money. So that's where Harrison is at. So earlier he takes a couple up to the room, and he actually has like a weird vision of the hotel freezing, and he's having visions of his dad of shooting his father. So that is showing up. That pops up occasionally. So don't forget that. Anyway, back to him talking to this cute blonde lady who's visiting for work stuff. So they have their conversation. She talks about how much she loves New York City, blah, 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 blah. Remember that. So later on, Harrison comes back to the hotel. He's babysat his friend's son. Actually, no, he goes and does some other stuff. He doesn't babysit. He goes and does some other stuff. He comes back to the hotel. He's working, and he's going, he sees the guy that gave him the watch, the guest, tall, good-looking white dude, looked like a big tool. Probably named Chad. That's not his name, but motherfucker's named Chad. Anyway, so he sees dude coming in with the girl that he was talking to earlier, and she's drunk. He's like holding her up. And the dude comes over to the elevators, and he's like, oh, my wife, she always gets drunk really late. So, of course, he's like, she always gets drunk on vacation. So, of course, Harrison's spidey senses dinging off. So, he's like, wait a minute. It's calculating his head like, this is the girl from yesterday. She's visiting out of town. She's not married. This dude is not married. This is weird. This guy's weird. It's giving I bang drunk girls. So he's struggling with himself, and then he says to the dude as the elevator's opening, he's like, I didn't know you were married. And the guy immediately gets an attitude and is like, what does it matter to you? Da, 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 da. So they get in the elevator, and the guy's like, just hit the floor. Don't worry about that. Blah, blah, blah. He's like, whatever. And he's like, she's coming back to my room with me. She's cool with it. She's okay with it. And she says something like, where are we going? Or something like that. Homegirl's drunk, and she's out of it. She could barely stand. So they're in the elevator riding up. Harrison is having a fight, an internal struggle with himself, because he knows this guy is lying. He's called him out. The dude doesn't care. It's pretty obvious that homegirl is fucked up so much that she can't consent to anything. He helps them to the room and lets them in. So he walks away. They go in the room. He's walking down the hall, and he's like, mind your business. It's not your problem, Harrison. It's not your problem. It's not your problem. Of course, his conscience gets the better of him. He goes back into the room, and he's like, he busts in the hotel room because he has a key. He busts in, and it was crazy. So she's laid out on the bed. Homeboy is standing over her, unbuttoning his pants, ready to get down to business. Harrison rushes him. They start fighting, right? Dude's kicking his ass at first. They end up fighting into this nice hotel room. By the way, the dude, right, at the beginning of the episode, I'm a big fan of Stanley Kubrick and Stephen King, specifically The Shining. So when the dude throws him the watch, he's like, I'm in room 237. Boop, boop, boop. That's the haunted hotel room in the hotel. Anyway, I thought that was awesome. So this whole hotel room was very reminiscent of that creepy hotel room in The Shining, down to the way the bathroom is positioned. I was screaming. As a cinephile and a lover of Stephen King and Stanley Kubrick, I thought that was awesome. Anyway, shout out to the writer, to everybody on that. That was kind of dope. So anyway, back to it. So Harrison and Homeboy are rumbling it out in this bathroom. Homeboy's kind of kicking Harrison's ass. Then Harrison body slams him and starts wailing punches on him, right? And so the dude's like, fine, fuck it. He goes, fine. Just take the girl back. There'll be plenty others. There's plenty of girls like her. There's always one like her. Creepy as shit. So Harrison is like, he looks over at the toilet, grabs the lid, pow, 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 kills the dude. So he looks down at the body and he's like, fuck. So he walks out of the bathroom and then he looks over at the bed and the girl is passed out drunk and he's like, fuck. So basically he does what his dad taught him. He takes the liner off the shower curtain, wraps the body up, puts him in one of those room service carts, takes the girl back to her room, cleans her up, puts her in the room, cleans up the entire hotel room, including the bathroom, the way Dexter taught him, not a drop of blood. Then he gets down to the kitchen, puts in his headphones, lays Homeboy's body out, and cuts Homeboy up the way Dexter taught him. Tosses him in some trash bags and tosses the bags out. He's timed it perfectly. He ends up missing the garbage truck at 5 a.m., ends up throwing up outside because he's scared shitless, but he manages to get the body parts out in the trash bag. And he ties the trash bags a certain way, of course. Boom. So we go back to Iron Lake, right? Dexter is nervous as shit because he knows that Batista is going to eventually catch on to him. So he's trying to figure things out. Back in New York, the garbage guys are at this landfill or whatever, and they're throwing garbage into I forget if it's the machine or the truck. But anyway, one of the bags they pick up busts open and part of an arm and a thigh fall out. They call the police, cops show up, and they have this, of course, because it's Dexter, best of the best, they've got this one detective, this woman that comes out. She's the shit. I'm really curious to learn more about her. But it's her and this man, they're partners. They're special detectives. And she comes out and she's talking to the local cops like they ain't shit. And it's obvious she's extremely smart and not with the dumb shit. So her partner's like, you got to be nicer to them. And she's like, they're inconveniencing me right now. We're this is a murder investigation. So she puts on her headphones. It's interesting because Harrison puts in his earbuds when he goes to cutting up the dead body. And it's interesting that this female detective puts on her earphones when she's looking for the other body parts at the landfill. And that's her whole thing. We found an arm and a thigh or an arm and a leg. Let's find the rest of the body. So she's looking through with her music, and she takes the bag where the first body parts were found and notices the uniqueness of the way that the trash bag is tied. Eventually finds other trash bags with the same tie. So the cops lay out the body in this landfill on this sheet, and they find the head. And the body is cut up into 9 parts. So this makes the news. We're back in Iron Lake with Dexter. Dexter's in his physical therapy appointment, and the girl, the girl is rubbing him down and they're talking. And she's like, oh my God, did you hear about the story in New York? They found this body in trash bags in the landfill. Body cut up in 9 parts. So Dexter, his spidey senses, ding, ding, ding. He's like, 9 parts. So of course, Harry, ghost of his dad, is like, 9 parts. And he's like, didn't you teach, isn't that part of your code that you taught Harrison? And he's like, I wonder if he's in New York. And he's like, it's too good to be, it's, so they're talking and he's like, that's very specific. So Harry, after the physical therapy routine is over, he's back in the hospital room and he's really thinking about this. And of course he's talking to his dead father, Harry. And he's like, with Batista on my trail and now this, he's like, I need to go be with my son. And that's the one thing that I wanted to point out that I forgot to say earlier. All of the previous ghosts that visited him are telling him that he needs to find his son. He needs to fix the relationship with his son, especially his dad and especially Dokes. That's why Dokes tell him, I know that you're good and you need to use that good and you need to get to your son and help your son, basically save your son. So Harry tells him this again and he's like, New York is only 4 hours from here. So guess what Dexter does? And Dexter does what he always does. He's not fully healed. He sneaks out of the hospital, ends up stealing some keys. Somebody has a Greenpeace car full of bumper stickers, which is my pet peeve, but this isn't about me, and drives his happy ass to New York City. As he's on the road, the last scene of the first episode, this guy in a hat and a hoodie, he's at an airport, I think, and there's all these like Ubers, ride shares lined up. And he walks past one of the guys like, John, and he's like, yeah. He gets in the car. They get in the car and they're driving. The dude is Haitian. They're having short conversation. And the driver's like, are you from here? And he's like, yeah, born and raised. And the dude is looking at the driver's like his dash, and he's got pictures of his family and his kids up. And he's the guy's talking or whatever, and he goes, he's like, I forget what the driver asked him, but he asked him something that has to do with work or something. And the dude's like, he goes, well, I lost everything because of people like you. And the driver's like, what? And you learn the driver, because he asked him where he's from, and the driver says, I'm Haitian, I've lived here however many years, whatever. So the dude switches his seat. He's sitting on the opposite side, on the other side in the back seat. He sits now behind the driver's side. So the driver is getting a little more nervous. So he leans up behind the driver, and he's like, who are you gonna miss when you die? He's like, what? So the driver looks down at his cell phone and he sees that John, the actual passenger, is texting like, where are you? And he's like, oh my God. So the dude takes this like metal looking rope thing and rips it around his head, and he's holding it. And he's like, who are you going to miss when you die? Them, referring to his kids. Ciao. He ends up ripping the guy's head off. Somebody finds the car the next day, and we're now into episode 2. They find it, and we go from there. So now we have our first killer on the loose. Dexter gets to New York. He's driving in New York City. So he's driving in New York City, and he ends up finding out that I forget how he finds out where Harrison is, but he discovers that Harrison is at the Empire Hotel. He's watching him from the car. Actually, he does figure it out in the last scene. I can't remember how he does it, but it don't matter because we knew he was going to get to this anyway, because this is how these shows work. So he's watching his son from the car, and Harry's like, are you going to go and talk to him? And he's like, no. He's like, I can't say anything right now, He thinks I'm dead. I'm not going to blow the spot up. So the second episode basically focuses on Dexter acclimating to New York City. Dexter learns that there's a serial killer killing rideshare drivers. And the way he learns that is by meeting a rideshare driver himself. Dexter slips into, I'm jumping ahead, I'm just giving you a preview. So Dexter slips into the Empire Hotel, figures out that Harrison is behind the death of this mysterious person that's killed. He doesn't know yet who this person is. Harrison, meanwhile, is freaking the fuck out. Harrison is freaking out. He keeps seeing the dead guy wherever he goes. And the guy looks scary because his face is all fucked up. Meanwhile, the cop that found the dead body has been able to trace. She knows that the body is from. So she knows that the body was the guest at the Empire Hotel. So now the Empire Hotel is being overrun by the police. Everyone's under surveillance. So Harrison is on high alert because feels guilty and he doesn't want to get caught. Now, when he cut up that body, there was a drop of blood just above the ceiling because he cut up the body in the kitchen down there. Dexter later on figures it out. He actually goes to the crime scene because they've cut off the whole entire floor. The detective is blown away by how clean the hotel room is. This lady is sharp as shit, by the way. So she has them test the rest of the other hotel rooms' bathrooms because she's like, how is it that this bathroom is so clean that it's even clean of bodily fluids? So I want to test the normalcy of bodily fluids in the other rooms versus this room to show how abnormal it is. Whoever did this knew what they were doing. So Harrison's dealing with that. This whole episode, he's kind of spiraling. He's haunted by dude. He's haunted by his dad. He actually goes joyriding with one of his valet buddies in one of the rented cars, does coke. He's doing too much because he's nervous. And he's on the cops' radar too. Everybody that works there is on the radar. But it's going to be a matter of time before they get into Harrison's ass. So meanwhile, Dexter has slipped in. He slips in on the floor that's sealed off because of the murder. He goes to the murder scene, the hotel room, and he's figuring out, he's talking with Harry, and he knows how Harrison did it. But he's like, I got to figure out how I'm going to talk to him. So anyway, he leaves the hotel. This is where he meets the rideshare guy. I think he's African or island. Anyway, he's kind of fine. His character's name is Blessings Kamara. They end up becoming cool. The only reason that Dexter even meets this dude is because that car that he stole ends up getting towed. He parked it in a towaway zone, which was hilarious because they nod to the fact that any major metropolis, all the no towaway, no towing, no parking here between this time, all that shit is confusing as hell. But anyway, so he gets his car towed. He has to call the rideshare service. He ends up meeting this African dude, Blessings Kamara. The guy drives him to the tow yard so he can get the car out. They end up having a great conversation. Dexter tells him that he just moved there, and he's like, I'm still looking for a place. And the guy's like, listen, you seem like a nice guy. We're having a party at our house tomorrow. You should come. During their conversation in the back of that rideshare, the dude tells him about, New York has a serial killer right now, and he's targeting rideshare drivers. So the word serial killer, Dexter's ear. So Dexter's like, woo. So he starts asking more questions. So then the dude's like, a friend of mine who's also a rideshare driver. So on this show, they're not calling it Uber or Lyft. They're calling it U-Driver. Okay. So he's like, my friend is also a U-Driver and had an encounter with the serial killer. So, by the way, the serial killer, the city is calling the serial killer the Dark Passenger. So, Dexter feels some type of way. And if you're a fan of Dexter, you know that he calls his serial killer urge alter ego also the Dark Passenger. So he feels some type of way. So this is even more of a reason for him to get in. It's just another reason, proof for him to be invested in this, right? So then Dexter is listening to this. They get to the tow yard, and he says to the dude, he's like, actually, no, later on, when he's at the because he's staying at a motel, he's watching he's reading up on what they found or whatever, and what they're talking about this rideshare serial killer guy, the Dark Passenger. So he calls the rideshare dude Blessings because they exchange numbers. And he's like, hey, is your friend who had the encounter with the guy, is he gonna be at the party tomorrow? And he's like, yeah. He goes, so does this mean you're coming? He's like, yeah, I'm coming. So here's another thing to note. The reason the dude didn't go forward and tell the police about his encounter with the serial killer is because the guy's visa's expired. We later learned that. So anyway, back on this detectives and them, Harrison is on their trail as well because they discovered that he is in the video evidence. He's in some video surveillance that has to do with the victim that he cut up. So he is really on the detective's radar. He doesn't know that yet. He's nervous as shit, but he doesn't know that he's on their radar like that until later on the episode when he's asked to be spoken to by the police, by his manager, the black guy with the cool haircut. Anyway, so Dexter ends up going to Blessing's party and meets the family, falls in love with African food, as he should. African food is the shit. I don't care which country. That shit is good. Listen, you ain't lived till you had some curry goat. I didn't think I would like Nigerian cuisine. Fantastic. Anyway, I know curry goat is in lots of stuff, but I had a Nigerian roommate and she had me try some, and that shit was so good. Anyway, so he goes to the party and he meets everyone. He has a great time. And actually Blessings is like, listen, have you found a place yet? I know you said you were living in a motel. And he's like, no, not yet. And he goes, well, we own a couple properties and we actually, we have a vacancy. And his wife chimes in and goes, we have a vacancy for first and last month's rent and security deposit. Girl, I know that's right. And Dexter's of course is like, yeah, of course, So anyway, so the friend that encountered the serial killer, the dark passenger, he comes to the party. So Blessings introduces Dexter to him. The guy actually has a bandage on his ear just below. So they introduce, and Dexter's asking him questions because Dexter now wants to become a rideshare driver, a U driver. Because, he got a mission. He has to have a purpose. He later says that to his dad, Harry, when they're talking later on. He's like, this is what I do best. I can still help Harrison and still do what I do, And I just want to note, too, that this dark passenger guy, the news puts it out there that he's specifically attacking rideshare drivers. And I think just based off him making that comment about, since you guys took jobs from us, he alluded to that when he was talking to the first guy that he killed. Some is giving extreme MAGA or going after immigrants. That's the vibe that I'm getting. They haven't officially said that yet, but that's what I'm taking from it. So anyway, the dude tells his story about what happened with the dark passenger. Basically, the guy gets in his car, same MO, starts talking about his country, you guys stole from us, and he asked the signature phrase of who's going to miss you when you die. The guy describes how he put that thing around his neck, and he ended up using, he hit the brakes hard and hit a release on the back of his seat, which pushed the guy back and pushed him off of him, which released that shit from around his neck. But the guy ends up cutting part of his ear off, but he manages to get away. He doesn't tell anybody because he says, his visa's expired and he just didn't want to deal with the cops. Totally understand it. But he's like, I'll never forget that guy, because he'll always have that. So of course, Dexter's soaking all of this in. So back in Iron Lake, Batista shows up. And this was actually part of last episode and this episode. But Dexter actually fakes them out. He turns the shower on. I'm jumping back a little bit, forgive me. But he turns the shower and leaves it on, so it sounds like he's taking a shower, which delays Batista coming in to visit him. I forgot to mention that. When he slips out, Batista is there. So Batista, the lady tells him, well, he's taking a shower, just wait. So he's out there waiting. He comes back and he's like, I've been waiting, can you just check again? So she goes and checks Dexter's room again. Here's the shower. Comes back out. He's still in the shower. So Batista's like, it's been 45 minutes. So he barges his way into the hospital room, goes into the bathroom, pulls the shower curtain back and sees that obviously Dexter's not there. It's obvious he climbed out of the window because the window's open, the blinds are up. So he knows he's on the run. Batista knows what he's doing. So this is fantastic because the stakes are high because now Dexter's back. He's alive. Angel Batista knows he's alive. And old ghosts come back to haunt literally because this Bay Harbor butcher shit is never going away. Dexter is now in New York. He's hunting a new serial killer, ironically named the Dark Passenger. He's got to watch out for his son, who is on the same wavelength as him. These first 2 episodes were fantastic. I'm going to get better with my reviews. But what I love about it is they've resurrected this character once again and once again has not disappointed. These first 2 episodes were awesome. I'm looking forward to see what happens. Friday nights are going to be fun again. All right. This was Dexter Resurrections episode 1 and 2 is Sunday night. I hope this video finds you in a great mood. Let's have a great upcoming week. Stay hydrated and be nice to each other.